brokerage were a possibility, today we're going to share with you not only that it's possible, but exactly how to get started. You see, in today's market, there are people that for sure are saying, I don't want to go forward in this market. I'm done. It's not my passion. And there are other people who are saying, I would love to buy your brokerage. We have a whole list of them. So folks, today's episode, again, whether you own a real estate brokerage, whether you own a title company, or whether you own a mortgage company, we are going to help you to know exactly what the process looks like. And there is a marketplace, and there is a company out there that can help you to sell your brokerage. This is going to be a great episode, guys. Don't miss this one. Stay tuned. Here. The big question is this: how do those of us in the real estate industry with crazy amounts of ambition, how do we think bigger than the building of our own empires? How do we simultaneously seek success and significance, income and impact? My name is Justin Stoddard, and this is the Think Bigger Real Estate Show. All right, welcome back, guys. Again, today's episode is all about how do you sell a real estate brokerage, a mortgage company, or a title company. We're going to talk all about that. You're going to love this episode. Before we get into the content, into the meat, I want to do a couple of things. Number one, I want to invite you to a very special event I'm doing this coming Wednesday. It's a deep dive business planning session for anybody that's interested in really getting clarity and focus in 2023. Regardless of the market, you can still win. So I'll put in the show notes an invitation for you to join us this coming Wednesday. Second thing I want to do is introduce today's special guest. His name is Mark Lucas. He's been a friend of mine for several decades now, back to when I was a home builder. Mark knew me then, and he still is friends with me now. Can you believe that? Anyway, excited to introduce him. Mark Lucas, thanks for coming on the show today, my friend.
Greatly appreciative, my friend. How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you. Let's share a little bit of your story, right? You and I met again years ago. Since that time, you've done some impressive things. Serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You own multiple companies, very successful companies in the real estate space, and are also an investor in several others. One of the companies that I have always loved to talk about, tell agents about, is your silent marketing solutions, which is a very innovative way of having agents not only give their clients a closing gift at the table, but also stay in contact with them through that closing gift, which I hadn't heard of anybody doing that. It's a brilliant model, and you've done incredible things, really serving tens of thousands of agents across the country. So congrats to you on that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think we're up to 15 or so thousand, something like that, maybe a tad more. Yeah, it's been an amazing ride on that one. And it's ironically what led us directly into, what we're about to talk about next, which is REMA. And
that's right.
Yeah,
I love it. So for those that are wondering, where is Mark at and how does he get such a beautiful tan? He is on the central west coast of Florida. I didn't know him then, but I know him. I still know him now. And anyway, he gets to call that beautiful place home. Mark, let's get into when you were, again, building this incredible business that serves almost 15,000 agents. You realized that there was a common conversation that was happening amongst brokerage owners, right? Talk to us a little bit about kind of what you heard, what you experienced.
Yeah. So, over my 25 or so year career, what it really came down to is we would do these presentations in front of agents, and typically you go in and talk to the broker afterwards or something like that, and you go have lunch or something. And there was sort of a reoccurring conversation. It reminded me of the old Louis L'Amour books for the, aging generation. But, it was always, the agents are driving me crazy, or it's like herding cats, or it's just wasn't necessarily what I thought it would be, something along those lines. And for a lot of years early in my career, I couldn't do much. I was like, well, I appreciate your problems and good luck to you. And, we'll try and help your agents. But over the last probably 7 or 8 years in particular, but maybe a little bit before that, I had opportunities to meet what we would say very influential and well-funded groups and maybe other brokerages or individuals, something like that. And so suddenly there was this opportunity that I looked at and went, okay, well, that's kind of cool. So flash forward, and a couple of years back, doing a presentation not too far from my home here in Sarasota, up in Tampa area. Same basic conversation afterwards. And the broker was a little bit older, and he was just ready to retire. And I said, well, let me see what I can do for you. So he had a very complex business model. He had 7 different franchises. He had title company. Every kind of possible problem that you could think of to try and do this as your first attempt. And as the joke goes that I like to use, it's like at a mosquito at a nudist colony. I wasn't sure where to begin, but we kept plugging away at it, and eventually we got him sold. But two things came out of that entire process. One was I realized that there are no M&A companies that specialize in the real estate industry. There's a few notable people that sort of do it, and individually, maybe a brokerage will have an M&A person who is out looking for deals or something like that. But there's no real companies devoted to it specifically as their primary focus. And number two was the M&A world's kind of is more screwed up than the real estate world in some sense. I mean, just small little things like most M&A companies simply go, here's this transaction, let's call it a dry cleaning service, and here's this transaction, it's a pet grooming service, and we're going to do the valuations and we're going to throw them out in the wind and we're going to hope for the best. Well, I'm a serial entrepreneur. That's just about the dumbest thing you can think of. That's just a shotgun approach and nobody ever wins. So one of the first things I did was I set up an internal buying network. So we have a network of around 70 or 80 buying companies that are our internal network. It's all they do are these individuals, these these money people who they want to buy real estate companies. They want to buy title companies, and they could be holding companies. They could be brokerages. They could be title company, other title companies, whatever that looks like. So we've developed that, and we put those two pieces together. Now, what that really does then is create speed. The numbers are to a certain degree what the numbers are, but what it really does is, a typical M&A might take something like 120 days, or depending on the complexity or whatever. We can sometimes knock that in half. Which in today's market is massive because the valuations are, up in the air. I mean, yesterday it was 3 valuations and now it's down to 2.6 or 2.5. So that's huge amounts of money that can be lost or gained in a matter of 30 or 40 days. So anyway, that's a long way to get to. We did something unique where we've got CEOs and brokers just contacting us daily now, asking for their help or asking for our help, and how do they make those next steps? What does that exit strategy look like for them? Do they want to retire? Do they want to just merge with another company? Whatever. And there you go. That's what we do. That's what we help them with.
I love it. There are companies out there whose owners are ready to be done, right? Like when I think about kind of the space that we're entering into, right? There's no shortage of companies who are losing money right now, at least over the past few months, right? We all recognize this is a phase. Anytime there's a shift and sellers and buyers are definitely at odds at what they think values are, there's going to be a little bit of a stall. Mm-hmm. So we're not talking about the fact that there are companies who are just experiencing a little bit of a dip, but really what we're here to share is that there are certain brokerage owners who want out. Like it's not just the fact that they lost money for a few months. Like those brokerages, most of them will be just fine.
Yeah.
There are some, however, that are like, I don't want to do this anymore. Mm-hmm. I'm older. I'm younger. I'm tired. I got too many other things going on. Whatever it may be, right? That's what we're here to talk about. Is it really there are those who want to sell? They want out for whatever reason, not just because there's a slight dip. Like people who want to figure it out will probably get resourceful and figure it out. And people that are on the edge of dying anyway, we're not in the business of just like giving you life support, right? We want strong brokerages who have built a great business, but are saying, you know what, I think I want to do something else with my time now, right? I think I want to consolidate my efforts into something else. So for all those that are wondering, like, who are we talking to? It's those brokerage owners that are like, yeah, I built a good business and it's just time for me to do something else. And I want to see what it might be worth. So again, I'm excited about this topic. Yeah. Let's get into kind of what is the opportunity, right? Just as there are sellers of real estate industry businesses, as you uncovered, Mark, there are also buyers.
Absolutely.
And I'll say we at REMA, because Mark has invited me to be an advisor partner with him, to identify some of the many brokerages out there that are in that spot where they're like, I built a good business, but it's time for me to pass the baton, give it to someone else who can maybe take it to the next level. So we at REMA are excited to say we have a whole list of buyers, and adding regularly, aren't we, Mark? Like there are people coming to us saying, hey, if you're like, let me put my hat in the ring, I'm interested in buying as well. And because of our unique process that makes it go really fast and really near effortless for those involved, we have a lot of people coming saying, please help us through this process, right? And get to the right valuation. So anyway, we that's really the opportunity, is that there are not just people who want to sell, but there are people that want to buy.
Right.
especially in this market. Anything you'd add to that as far as the opportunity for people to
Well,
sell in this market, Mark?
absolutely. And look, you're 100% right. I mean, strangely, the buyers are becoming stronger in some sense, right? Because they are consolidating. They are adding to their overall, again, brokerage size, title, whatever that looks like. So
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I literally just got off the phone with a holding company today. Their parameters happens to be both they want to invest or they want to take over commercial brokers and property management companies, right? So this is, and they're up in the Northeast, but they want to expand down into Texas and all that stuff. So, through the Southeast and all that. So this is another opportunity. Maybe you've got a company that you've done property management. Maybe you're not very big. Maybe it's becoming a bigger hassle, something along those lines. He just ended up, in the course of our conversation, he just purchased a property management company. The parents decided to retire, and the two sons just didn't want to take it over. They were like, no, this isn't our thing. So he was able to step in and take that company over, paid a nice price for it. Everybody wins. And how great is that? That's one of those golden opportunities. And this is just one example of, again, we have right now somewhere around 70-ish buyers. I expect around 125-ish. There wouldn't be too many transactions that we couldn't facilitate in a very rapid manner that covers, the entire spectrum of whatever a seller is trying to sell, what their company looks like. So,
That's a great example, Mark, is that sometimes people feel like, well, number one, I didn't know that I could sell my real estate brokerage, right? I didn't know that I could sell my title company. I didn't know that I could sell my mortgage company.
Right.
Most know that. But in case you were wondering, yes, you can. And there is a process for it. And uniquely situated is REMA, right? Real estate mergers and acquisitions. That's what we do. And so the valuations that we have are uniquely customized for this industry. But you bring up a good point. I think sometimes people think that, like, man, it's a failure if I step away from this business. Not at all, right?
Right.
That you passing the baton in a 400-meter relay doesn't mean you failed because you couldn't run the rest of the race. It just means you're going to pass it on to somebody else while you go do something else. Like it's great. It's a great transition point where you don't have to just let it slowly die or put it in the hands of your kids, hoping that they love it as much as you do enough to take care of it to see it through. Like, pass it while it's good. Get some money out of it. Share that with your family.
Right. Well, and I'll give you a little statistic. There's roughly 105, 106,000 just real estate brokerages. Let's just set aside title and mortgage for a moment. Almost half, 49% of those brokerages are run by people well into their 60s, right?
Interesting.
Think about that. Half the brokerages are being run by people who are not retired now, should be soon because of just their age.
Right.
That presents golden opportunities for the buyers, and it creates opportunities for the sellers, or maybe that's not the best way to say that. It looks at the sellers and says, these people now are ready to move on to their next chapter. What does that exit strategy look like for them? We got the buyers to take care of it, and we've got the experience to work those two pieces together to get the best results.
That's a great way to put it. Let me just make a side note here, that if you by chance are interested in learning more about what this looks like before we get to the end of the episode, right? I want to make sure, like, send me a direct message, say, hey, I'm interested. And you can put it in the comments if you'd like. If it's more private, you could just send me a direct message. Just say, I'm interested in learning more about this, right? Mark and I will set up an appointment to talk to you about what it looks like to take the next steps. But I'm telling you that there's a great opportunity here if you're in that spot of, like, I don't know if I have the passion for this anymore, or like the demographic that you described, right? We're now living in a world where technology is a very big piece of everything that's done in real estate. And maybe you didn't grow up in the industry that way, and you miss the old kind of hand-to-hand combat stuff. And maybe some of that in your mind is becoming less important, at least to a rising generation. And you aren't interested in adapting and innovating at a level that maybe some of this younger generation wishes you would. So it's a great time to say, let's pass the baton. Right? I think that's a great example, Mark.
Yep.
Let's get into a little bit more about the process, right, of REMA, and without sharing any of kind of the secret sauce that we have, which is a formulaic approach that keeps both buyer and seller very protected, but also gives people, because we do enough of these transactions, it really gives buyers and sellers the ability to know that the valuations that we're bringing to the table are attuned to the current real estate market, right?
Right. Yeah. So two things. I mean, we're obviously a company that works with a lot of other companies that need to remain what would we say, private, I guess, for lack of a better word. So for example, the first step of any project for us is NDAs. When we don't talk about our customers, we don't talk about our buyers. We're on the internet, but very rarely are you going to see some of the stuff we're doing, because that's not what we are. It's not what we do. But moving beyond that, once that NDA is signed, now we have just simple little things like we have our rapid valuation model, right? That's sort of a model that was based on a lot of M&A companies out there. In some sense, it's some of that standard, but we've custom tailored it to the real estate industry. It has some unique challenges that are different compared to other, again, I'll use restaurants or something along those lines as the example. So we've custom tailored this rapid valuation model. Now, you're going to be able to plug some basic numbers in, and you're going to say, yeah, okay, I can see where we're headed with this. I like this. I can work with this. Let's move forward and let's see where this takes us. Let's do the rest of the process. If you look at the number and you just go, man, I can't, that's not where I need to be, or maybe there's something we need to change. Well, guess what? We can help you maybe find a way to increase your business and find more profit so that we can come back a year later or a year and a half later or whatever, and then maybe put you on the market. And that's huge. But again, most M&A companies just don't do that. They just go, well, thank you for your time, and off I go. No, we're here for the long haul. We want to work with companies and give them all the possibilities to move forward in the best way possible for them.
Yeah, I think that's the really cool part, right? Is that you don't have to commit to say, I'm going to sell before you know what you could sell for. That we actually do some upfront consultative meetings, again, behind NDAs, to where you're protected, but it's to where you can really get an idea of, okay, how much would I actually get for current market rate? What is this worth? And then you can decide at that point, do I proceed? Or what you said, Mark, which is, let us walk you through what it looks like to grow to a point to where you could have that exit number that you're looking for, right? My specialty, for those that know me, my specialty is helping to grow real estate businesses. So there's some added expertise that we can bring to the table to say, okay, is that what you're interested in doing? Let's talk about how we get you there, right? Which is a whole separate conversation, but ties in very closely to saying, look, if you want, $5 million to be able to ride off into the sunset, right? And the current valuations put you at 3.5, we'll talk to you about what it looks like to get to that next level, to where you can actually have the 5. So very, very cool. Super excited about kind of this partnership, what we're doing here, Mark. Let's talk about what people do to get started, right? I kind of already kind of spilled the beans a little bit there. Just DM me. Is there anything else that people should know as far as really kind of starting the ball rolling? Is it that simple?
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is. I mean, look, we've got, obviously, Justin, you're up in the Portland area, so we have a physical presence in Portland. If you happen to be in Justin's, let's say, driving distance, or, go get some coffee, talk to him. I guarantee you would be happy to sit down with you. We have other advisors across the country, but we live in a world of Zoom. We live in a world of, virtual everything. So if you feel comfortable with Justin and you happen to be in, Boston or something, DM him and Zoom him up. We'll make that work too. I would say that a lot of owners, and I mean this in all sincerity, because I'm a small business owner myself, this is your baby. And so that's a huge mental barrier to push through. And sometimes having a person right there like yourself, Justin, who can sort of walk you through those steps face to face and all that stuff, it definitely makes people feel better in some sense, that sort of thing. And I'm not discounting Zoom and all the rest of that good stuff. Just that's a sub thought. Yeah. But that's the hardest part. My discovery in this is the hardest part is just wrapping your head around the fact that you're about to sell your baby. You may have been working on this for 30 years. And once you can sort of get through that barrier, then we take the steps from there to help you and give you guidance through the process from point A to point Z.
I want you to think about here, Mark. I'm going to ask you this question here in just a second about who this would not be a good fit for. I know that there's some national franchises, et cetera, that if you're in one of those, right, this isn't the right fit. But while you're thinking about that, I want to share the story that you shared with me that really kind of touched me, emotionally. Is that you shared a story about a brokerage in a certain part of the country who came in to an office meeting and said, guys, we're closing our doors. We're done, end of the week. And then 25 plus agents that were like, oh crap, where do we go? I've got transactions in process. You can imagine all the stress that adds to the agents in your brokerage. Wouldn't it be a much better transition for them and for you, right? At that point, or hopefully even a little bit before then, to be able to say, you know what? This isn't going the direction I want it to. I built a good brokerage. We weren't quite ready to weather this storm, but I'm sure somebody else can take in these agents and turn turn this around and have the heart to want to do it, right? You might want to just be moving on. And what a better way to exit this industry as opposed to, by the way, you're all out of here on Friday. Like, that's just not very good for anybody, the client, the end client included. So I just want to kind of share that if you are looking into the future and being like, you know what, why not get a valuation and see what I can get for this? That's a great conversation. So with that being said, Mark, who would you say would be people who this would not be the right fit for? That's like, we're like, that's just not who we serve.
Well, and two things on that, really. And I'm going to tap into something you just said about that story. On that particular story, there was a buyer ready to go. They closed the doors anyway. They couldn't figure, they just waited too long, and then they couldn't survive. So, okay, that was that. So two basic things that are the hardest things for us to sort of navigate. Not impossible, just difficult. One is long-term franchise agreements. If you're in a KW franchise, if you're in REMAX, any of those franchise groups, JPAR, whatever, that gets tough, right? It's not impossible. It depends on where you're at in your agreement. It depends on what stipulations maybe the franchise agreement has in place. I mean, there's a lot of factors, but those are difficult, no doubt about it. And look, the honest truth is, if you're underwater by a fair amount, look, if you're a brokerage or a title or mortgage company and you're looking at your books and you've run a net loss for the last 4 or 5, whatever that looks like, that's a tough haul. Again, not impossible, because there are, even within our network, there are buyers who want to maybe, pick up companies like that. But it's definitely a tougher, bottle of water to hold up that hill, or, well, that's a lousy way to say that. But, it's kind of like, find a multiplier of 3. If 0 is times 3, it's still 0. And there's not a lot we can do in that sense.
Yeah.
If it's only 0 for 1 year, that's different than 0 for 5 or 6 or 7 years, obviously.
Right.
You get my point, is that those are the two big ones that I'm not saying don't call. I'm just saying, understand that's a hard one to sort of overcome.
Good stuff, Mark. Boy, this has been really fun for me to spend some time with you and really kind of share with a larger audience, right? The fact that there is a solution for those that want out, and potentially for those out there that might be like, I'd love to pick up a mortgage, a title company, or a real estate brokerage in this market. Reach out to us, right? We'll put you in our network, and that we've got active buyers and sellers on both sides, so we can really help you. So how fun for me to get the chance to, again, share this with a larger audience. Mark, I've got one last question for you. You've probably heard me ask you this before, but you're a big thinker, right? You built a company that serves over 15,000 agents. You built the shopping network, which is another company in and of itself. Just some impressive things, and also this company, right? There it is. And also REMA, really helping mergers and acquisitions in the real estate space. But what is it that you do, Mark, to continue to be a big thinker, to continue to expand your possibilities and continue to grow? What does it look like for Mark?
I think this sounds like such a cliche, and yet it's just the way I sort of believe my life. I just keep my eyes open. I keep my head on a swivel. There are opportunities everywhere. I don't care whether the economy's up or down. I mean, some of the most brilliant minds that have ever existed in the business world throughout the ages just looked at the holes. They looked at the opportunities and went, wait a minute, I can fix that. I can do something about that. There's an opportunity here. And I guess when it all comes down to it, I just always keeping looking around. It just, that you got to keep watching, because 99 times out of 100, it's right there in front of you. You just got to be willing to look at it and let that door open up in front of you, and then figure out how to solve it. Look, how to solve the problem is the #1 business tool for any businessman. What problem is there, and how do you solve it? You can accomplish that. Generally speaking, you can be successful.
Yeah. Really well said, Mark. Really well said. Always a pleasure spending time with you, my friend. And again, if anybody here is watching this and you're thinking to yourself, I want to be a buyer or I want to be a seller. Again, if I have a mortgage company, a real estate brokerage, or a title company, just send me a private message. We'll set up a consultation and see how we can help you. And if we can help you. And that'd be a fun conversation either way. So Mark, such a pleasure. Appreciate everything you do, all the value you bring to this industry. You're a good man.
All right.
And my final request of everybody listening here today, these 3 simple words, you know what they are. They are go think bigger. Thanks, friends. Thanks. Be honest. Hearing good ideas is not enough. You have to apply them in order to get the results desired. If you found value in today's episode, then you're really going to love the community of big thinkers and high achievers that we are building in order to help you to apply the principles taught today. If you're not yet a member of Think Bigger Real Estate on Facebook, go sign up now.